Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Monday, October 28th, 2024, and today's topic will be doodling, scribbling, and sketching. And this idea came to me because, one, I'm going to work on this panel, which is basically the second page of my comic, of the test comic. But before we get into all of that, I want to welcome you back. If you are returning and if you're new, I sketch and post every day and set a 5-minute timer to develop a daily sketching habit and routine. So I'll go ahead and start a 5-minute timer. So if you just want to use that to just sketch for 5 minutes, feel free to do that. It's pretty helpful. And in fact, that's how I got myself to be able to sketch for longer periods of time. And now I just kind of use it to help others, but also to stay focused with these videos. So yeah, let's start a new week with more sketching and drawing and art. So yeah, the idea came to me because sometimes, well, one, I was going to start like a brand new page by using the idea of doodling, scribbling, and sketching, and I put it in that order because I'll just kind of start to sketch here. Doodling is kind of letting your hand kind of just do this, make up something, even though this is actually closer to scribbling, honestly. Doodling is like this, like, you can't see that. So doodling is kind of like this, which is kind of like scribbling. So they're similar. But it's useful for not only starting like a brand new page, like the sketchbook page, but also to get back into something. So for example, this is the second page of the comic I'm currently working on. And I wanted to do, I'm zoomed in. I just kind of felt like doing that today. And sometimes if you need to get back into it, you need to kind of doodle or scribble your way back into it. So that was one reason I wanted to zoom out a little there, or lift the camera. Pardon me. My camera setup is, I Jimmy rigged it, as they say. So yeah, that's one way to like get back into like something like a comic panel here or whatever, or a blank page. Just kind of doodle something. And especially if it's drawing from imagination. So for example, like I'm not looking at anything, I'm just kind of going off of this, which it adds a lot of life to your drawings. But the thing is, like for example, this arm is missing, and if you're gonna draw from imagination, you kind of have to get warmed up, and so that's what the like doodling So doodling is kind of like this, and done in a sketchy way, not in a like drawing kind of way. All of it is a form of drawing, so there's that. Kind of don't know how her, I guess, how is her hand supposed to be? I think you're supposed to see her fingers right here. And that's kind of what I mean. Like the first thought might be, well, now I got to look up reference in order to draw this picture. And that may or may not be true. I mean, that could very well be the case. But then, but since kind of the principle that I'm working under is to draw things from imagination, I just kind of draw what I can here. So this is sketching, which is a form of drawing. So that's already 5 minutes. And I'll start another one. So part of this is also about style. So there's a lot of artistic stuff going on. That I think some of my videos are really for like working artists or people that are, I feel like you can be a beginner, of course. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it really is about drawing. So this sword is funky, but again, instead of like this idea that, okay, I have to draw this sword correctly, just kind of sketch it in. So what's the difference? So this is, I would call this like sketching. Like this is sketching. Now if I get a ruler and draw it, so sketching is drawing, by the way. It's just a form of drawing. Same with like scribbling would be, I'm just gonna scribble shading. So scribbling can be used for shading. See what I'm saying? Like, just do this, scribble it in. But take it only as far as you can see it, especially if you're drawing from imagination. So then the question might be like, what's the point? Well, the point is style, originality, creativity, flow, because then you're not having to look up reference and you can just get into the work. So there's that. If you are going to use reference, then do a study. Like study the character, study the sword, or like how to hold a sword, and just do your studies. But I kind of feel like that's called practice, and this isn't practicing. Like, I'm not practicing this, I'm drawing this. Like, this is going to be the comic, and I feel like if you're gonna practice, then practice. I mean, that's kind of a private thing, isn't it? I mean, when you practice something. Now, I might do videos kind of talking about different tips or hacks, or even like ways of practicing that could help. I mean, I would do that. I have done that. So for example, back here, so as I'm looking at this, I may or may not scribble something in, but if I were, like, that's what this is scribbling. But sometimes you want to just kind of doodle something in the background here. Now you'll see this in comics, you'll see it in manga manga, which I just call comics, by the way. If I just say comics. So what's happened is that I've been able to start this panel, and I might want to draw in the border, which helps actually. So yeah, get a triangle, it helps with these panels. I don't know if I started a timer. If I haven't, let me start one. No, I did. Just about a minute left. So it helps to draw these panels if you're doing comics. But just on the topic of comics, like let's say that you're wanting to do a comic like me, and you're just kind of sketching it out. It would be good to just do a panel to like take it pretty far so you can see. So for example, like, so you can see like a style. And if I have to, for example, right now, I'd have to think about like how she's holding this sword. Then I'll just leave it. And even if you're, so that's 5 minutes, I'll start one more. And even if you're using pencil, I would kind of do the same thing, where instead of sitting there like erasing over and over, just, you can approach pencil work similar to ink. It's a little bit more forgiving because you can erase. But if you're using pen, then yeah, just get some white out. I mean, I had to use some right here. I would prefer not to ever, but I mean, sometimes you have to. So yeah, like sometimes you can just leave that as doodles and scribbles. And then if you want to, if I were to like go in and draw the sword here, so to speak, then I could do that. Just basically like straight lines and stuff. So it's a mixture of I mean, this is probably more sketchy than I would do. There's also the thing about like practice and stuff. So let me use this as an example. So here, see, sometimes the panel can be kind of sketchy also. It depends on like the style of the comic. But just along those lines, since we're talking about style, because of this particular comic, oh, that's a white marker. Like I kind of use the brush strokes, like the border, to one, to sort of clean up some stuff, but also to use it as like part of the panels themselves. And that's for this particular comic. It just kind of fit because I was being pretty loose with it. And so like some of the messiness goes with it. But yeah, like with this panel, for example, I mean, you could kind of have like this idea, like, okay, I'm going to pencil and then I'm gonna like do the line work. I mean, I see that all the time, and it's pretty boring. I mean, I don't it's just my opinion. I don't like see the point. But I mean, I get it, it's a style, but I mean, it is an actual style. So it's not like mandatory, like it's not how comics have to be or anything, especially if it's like an indie. I mean, this is, if I'm gonna do comics at all, it's not gonna be mainstream. It's gonna be like this, which is indie. And I'm like thinking, if you're gonna do something indie or independent, then why not just figure something different, like do something kind of different? Because that's why I like indie stuff, is because it isn't mainstream. Like there's more individuality. So this is scribbling, like that's what this is. And I guess sketching is a little bit more like, kind of like I sketched this skeleton warrior. I sketched it in. But then doodling is kind of like, you can doodle in like armor pieces. Like it's just sort of random doodles, that kind of thing. Or like if you look at this, I mean this is doodling right here. This is nothing. But then I can scribble, so I'm gonna just scribble some shading, some shadows, and then turn it into something, and then it'll look like a sketch and also a doodle, but then all of it put together is a drawing. And also like with the, like as far as like the panels, I might not even draw like a border. I might just come in, and this is for the sake of, since I've been using the brush pen here. That's 5 minutes. I'll do another 5 minutes and wrap up this video, because I don't want to make the videos too long. I mean, it works for like the format that I'm doing these videos in. This is a good amount of time. So part of this is because I had started with this style of using like this kind of like the bold, like black ink look. Not every comic is gonna be like this. And so I'm just gonna use this as kind of the border. But then sometimes it's good to just draw the border. And that's also part of storytelling, by the way, like comic book storytelling. And also how there's not a gutter in between these two, so it kind of looks more quick. So I sort of talked about that the other day. Where's my pen? Here it is. But yeah, so doodling, just doodle something, like doodle something in the back, scribble in the shadow, sketch things out. Like if you see parts that need to be sketched, draw things in, like the borders, straight lines. Let me do this. Sword has been bothering me. So I'm gonna figure out like where the middle of the sword is. And that'll just be my straight line. And I can either white this out or just kind of scribble like we've been talking about. I can just kind of scribble in the... Again, some of this is just style. Some people might say like, well, that's too messy. And I mean, that's up to you. But if it's like an indie comic, I don't really care. Like, if it looks cool, like if it works, then I don't really care if you scribble it in. So from here you can do like more straight lines. But I mean, it's not bad. I think about like the early Ninja Turtles, how it was kind of like this, and that's why I loved it before it became like this huge like mainstream thing. But I mean, a lot of people kind of forgot about the Ninja Turtles these days. But yeah, it was pretty big for a while. Well, it's about to be the end of another 5 minutes, and I want to thank you for joining me for today's daily sketching routine. I keep it pretty informal and low pressure, and my main thing is to do the daily sketching and also to encourage people who want to get into sketching, and just have it be kind of a low pressure way of sketching, but also producing a comic. I mean, it doesn't have to be that stressful or anything. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and thanks for supporting the channel, and until next time, keep on sketching.